Welcome back to the channel. Pete Hegseth, the new Secretary of Defense, took office with a clear mission. Beyond reforming the military, he declared war on the media covering him. His strategy seemed simple: shut the doors on journalists, control every leak, and turn the Department of Defense into a fortress where news only leaves when he wants it to. But reality had other plans, and that reality has a name: the boat strike scandal. Today, we're breaking down why this event became a turning point for Hegseth. How did a single incident shatter the illusion of total information control? And why is attempting to suppress the press in the age of digital warfare doomed to fail? Let's dive into the analysis. To understand the core of the scandal, we first need to look at the context. Pete Hegseth isn't your typical bureaucrat. He is a veteran, but also a former Fox News star. He understands the power of optics and narrative better than anyone. That is exactly why, upon taking the secretary's chair, he decided to change the rules of the game. His approach can be called a strategy of silence, restricting access for traditional media, cutting back on briefings, and issuing direct threats to fire generals who speak to the press off the record. Hegseth's logic is clear. He believes the liberal media undermines morale and distorts facts. He tried to create a system where the Pentagon speaks with one voice, his voice. And for the first few weeks, it seemed to work. Critics were quiet, leaks were down. But in a democratic society, and especially in a structure as massive as the U.S. military, silence is an illusion. And then it happens. The event already being whispered about in the corridors as the boat strike scandal. Note, we are speaking generally here, as specific details depend on the breaking news, but the focus is on the mechanism of the cover-up. An incident that was supposed to remain an operational footnote suddenly exploded across the news cycle. Whether it was a targeting error, an unjustified risk, or a technical malfunction they tried to hide, the point isn't the strike itself. The point is what happened after. According to reports, Hegseth's team tried to apply their new playbook: total denial or stonewalling requests, hoping the story would blow over. They calculated that without official confirmation, journalists wouldn't dare publish the details. But that was a miscalculation. The information leaked not through the official channels Hegseth controlled so tightly, but from the bottom up, through the families of sailors, through encrypted chat groups, and via satellite imagery from independent analysts. The scandal exposed the main weakness of his approach. When you shut the door on professional journalists, information finds another way out, often more chaotic, unverified, and damaging to your reputation. Instead of a dry report about an error, the Pentagon ended up with a full-blown crisis of trust. This story clearly demonstrates the limits of the so-called media crackdown. First, modern warfare and military operations are simply too transparent. In a world where every soldier has a smartphone and commercial satellites see everything in real time, it is impossible to hide a boat strike or any other significant incident. Second, it's a question of loyalty within the system. When leadership declares war on leaks and threatens purges, it often backfires. People inside the system, seeing injustice or an attempt to bury the truth, start speaking out even more actively, anonymously. Hegseth thought he could run the Pentagon like a television show where the producer decides what goes on air. But the boat strike proved that war isn't reality TV. Here, the consequences are real, and attempts to silence them only fuel the investigators' fire. So, what does this scandal mean for Pete Hegseth's future? It shows that his media blockade has limits. You can ignore the CNN press pool or the New York Times, but you cannot ignore reality. The boat strike scandal became the first serious transparency test for the new Pentagon administration, and it was a test they failed. If Hegseth doesn't change tactics and realize that controlled transparency is better than chaotic leaks, scandals like this will become the norm. Instead of killing the news, his policy just made it even more explosive. But what do you think about the government's attempts to control military news? Does the Pentagon have the right to total secrecy, even when mistakes happen? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next analysis. See you next time.